John, I'm sorry. You won't believe the amount of trouble we've had with this damn StreamYard to okay. So Silverback on the Atari 8 forums, his name is John Stoll II, number two, Mr. Wrestling number two. We've recorded two of these damned podcast things for the Atari 7800 Forever website. We recorded one last night about the State of the Union of Atari. This morning, I realized I screwed up again, and I'm sorry, John. Please don't kill me. Don't put me in the saw, grind me up in the sausage up there, whatever. Don't Jimmy Hoffa my butt. But we recorded one a couple weeks ago. We recorded one last night, and I realized I screwed up, and I just did an hour-long podcast, and it didn't record. So I'm doing this again. I'm doing the same damn podcast for the third time, but I think it's important. If I didn't think it was important, I would have raised it and say screw it all. So, John, again, I'm sorry. I know what I've done wrong. You will always be. I'm going to start sending you checks every time we do a podcast and get on the air. And I am sorry. I'll send you a present in the mail or something. Anyway, let's talk about this again. I need another drink or something here. I can't believe I just did the thing again and it recorded. But here's what we're doing. This is 2 weeks ago. John and I, or probably 3 weeks, or maybe even 4 now, we did a little podcast that we thought was cute. And it was, we were on the talking about the 7800 and the new little homebrew games that were coming out for it. And we were doing our little list. There was like 20, we went over 20 different homebrew games that were released in the last 2 years, 7800, which was pretty high number, and we went over the ones that we were most excited about and the ones that actually surprised us what our favorites were. And that didn't record, and we wasted a lot of time of our lives. And again, I'm sorry, Silverback. So I go on this trip. You can see I'm sunburnt. I got beat up. I went on a nationwide Route 66 jaunt. We were filming a movie about Route 66. It's a hard luck comedy called Vinny's Fantastic Rock and Roll Adventure. I'm not the filmmaker. I would not have named it that. But that's what he wants to name it. So anyway, it's actually going to be pretty funny. But along the trip, I got a message from Silverback. He said, "Are you checking out what's happening over the Atari Age forums?" And I said, "No, what's going on?" He goes, "It's crazy. You need to go check it out." And he sent me this message. Basically said that there's going to be a last chance sale at Atari Age. Okay, well, what does that mean? Apparently, and I'm going by what John said, and I haven't had a lot of time to do a lot of research. But what I think happened is Albert got spooked. Two things could have happened. Albert could have got spooked with some legal documentation. Like somebody might have sent him a letter and said, "You need to cut this out." They were selling homebrews of games that had licensing conflicts. I mean, anybody at any point could have said, "Quit selling, Galaxian or whatnot." And they got pretty liberal and relaxed with selling these games that were these homebrew, these hobby program reimagined games for these Atari game systems. And they were selling them. Either Albert, who runs Atari 8, and she's done a fucking fabulous job with this thing, either he got spooked by a letter or a conversation or an email, or he's really running the show by himself and he's got a full-time job. And anytime you see him on camera, there's like 99 boxes behind him and he's always sweating. And he's like, "We're trying our damnedest to get these things mailed out as fast as possible." He either just wanted to cut his inventory in half. I think it's one of the two. But what has happened is Atari Age is putting anything that is a port of something else that's got a licensing issue, they are putting up in a sale called the Last Chance Sale. And after this sale, those games, 99.9%, will not be available on the Atari website forever. I mean, they're gone. And it's quite a disturbing list if you're an Atari 7800 homebrew fan. And this goes scope of Atari 7800. I think it includes the 2600 and the 5200. I'm not sure about the Lynx and the Jaguar, but you can go to the store and check those out. But anything that's got a licensing conflict after the 23rd are gone. The good news is they're 10% off, which is substantial, especially if you get a whole bunch of them. But really, at the end of the day, I mean, not only is this cutting the legs out of a lot of work that the whole hobby programmers have put into this stuff, it just kind of stinks, man. And nobody's blaming Albert, nobody's blaming Atari Age. Uh, but these games take a long time. I've got a list here. I think I still have it pulled up of the 7,800 games that are going to be affected by this. And by affected, I mean never, ever to see the light of day again. So let's go over this list. And there's some heavy hitters here. Armor Attack. I'll speak English this time. Armor Attack 2, which is a Bob DeCrescenzo product. Also, Astro Blaster and Astro Fighter. Sad thing about these, they've never been put on the 7800 before. I'm sorry, they've never been put on a home system before. The 7800 was their only home. No more physical release. After the 23rd, they're gone. Bonk. That is a horrible loss. Not only is that the best version of Qbert I've ever played, it's also Ken Siders kind of offering. He's no longer with us. So that's really kind of upsetting too, but it's also just a great effing game. Baby Pac-Man. On my website, Baby Pac-Man is the third highest video game in the entire 7800 library. It's the only pinball game. If you don't know what it is, it's a pinball made hybrid. Really great on the 7800. I think it's better than the arcade version because I think the arcade version is an actual real pinball thing. It's a mess, kind of. This is nice and tidy. The only thing like it in existence, gone. Sucks. Beef Drop. Even though we call that's a fart where I was, in middle school, but that's Burger Time. Another one of Ken Siders. Excuse me. One of Ken Siders' games and a great version of Burger Time. Crazy Otto, which is another Pac-Man gimmick. I think that got into some legal trouble back in the early days too, which is kind of ironic. Froggy. Now this is the real reason this kind of stinks is for games like Froggy. The guy Matthew Ludke, I think that's the guy that made Frogger. This is a version of Frogger. These guys were even changing the name to avoid legal issues. The Froggy game or Frogger, this guy I think took 9, 10, 11 years to make this game and perfect it. These guys do this stuff in their free time, I mean, they don't work for Atari. This is stuff they do after they get done with work and wifey and kids and fixing the house. They go in and they work on these games. It's just sad to see their work kind of removed from the public eye. Galaxian's brand new. I mean, that came out on the store less than a couple months ago, What's the other one here? Junior Pac-Man is excellent, and that's a loss. Casey Munchkin, the second time in history, being pulled from the shelves. That was the Odyssey hit that Atari sued Casey Munchkin, and somehow they won, and they had to pull Casey Munchkin off the shelves. Keystone Coppers, which was one of Silverback's favorite games. He used to play that with his sister as a kid. Axed. Get it out of here. Fire his ass off the roof. And that's only been on the store for a few months. Moon Cresta, I hate that game, but people that like Moon Cresta, he actually took the code. Bob Shinzo made this, Pac-Man Plus made this. He took the code from the arcade and actually put it into the 700 version, so it's almost identical to the arcade. That's another game that did not have a home on a home system. And these next two, Pac-Man Collection and the Pac-Man Collection 40th anniversary. Pac-Man Collection, the original one that was released around 2003, 2004, somewhere back then, that was the number one selling game in Atari Age, and that's over anything out of the 2600 library too. It's been a staple, it's been a bestseller. And then the 40th anniversary Pac-Man collection has had a tumultuous existence. Bob been dealing with that for a long time too. He was wanting to make a better version of the Pac-Man collection. And it was designed for the XM module. If you don't know what the XM module is, it was an expansion module. It was a physical peripheral put on top of the 7800, and it had a Poke chip in it, which they should have done it at the beginning instead of having all these Poke chips everywhere for different games. It would have had high score capabilities. It would have had extra RAM for bigger games. Kurt Mandel passed away. The guy Groovy B was involved, and he was a shyster. And it just vaporware. And so Bob was making this game for this, and so he had to revert back into making it into a cart game, and that would play on a regular 7800. So he poured a lot of his blood, sweat, and tears into that thing, and it's going to go away. Popeye was just released. It may be one of the best games of the system. And what's funny is John said when these games came out, he said, I'm getting the games first that I think could be a problem. And he said Popeye is number one because of the Nintendo brand. It reminds me, somebody released a game called Princess Rescue on the 2600. They sold that on the Atari 78 or the Atari 8 website. And even though it wasn't named Super Mario Brothers, it was a Super Mario Brothers game. Nintendo said, what the hell are you effing doing? Bada boom. Now there is this kind of, it's not black market's not the right word, but there's this market of Atari Princess Rescue games on eBay, and they sell for a lot of money. And that's probably what's going to happen with Popeye. Rip Off is a fun game. I can't imagine anybody getting upset, but it is licensed. Scramble, one of the best games in the system, gone. Space Invaders, very good, gone. Super Pac-Man, good, gone. And Uniwar S is brand new. It is also gone. There's also about the same amount of 5,200 games. Looks like they're being taken off, and about double the games for the 70 or for the 2,600. I do not see the links or there's 100 titles. I just went to a link. There's 100 titles that they're removing. There's no way in the world that really anybody can afford all these at once. So what's going to happen. This is going to create a market on eBay. Now, we lamented, we felt bad for the programmers. We understand where Al's coming from. I have no idea exactly why. And before, when I was talking, I was just pulling it out of my ass. I have no idea why he's doing it. It's just me guessing. I think my street smarts tells me it's one of those two reasons. So, but what does this mean for the future of Atari homebrews? I am a guy. I don't like flashcards. I don't like them. I like the carts. I like having it on the shelf. I like the sound. I like the smell. I know it's weird. That's what I like to do. Bada boom, bada bing. This is probably going to make it more acceptable. That's not the right word. It's probably going to make it a bigger reality that these things will never see physical releases. Future homebrew games will just be little ROMs that you put on an SD card and slap into your multi-card, or you play on an emulator. And I think it sucks, man. I don't like that. I know a lot of people don't mind that, but I do. I typically don't review games that aren't released in physical form. That'll have to change too. I'm going to have to get a flash card. I don't have one, which probably surprises people since I run an Atari 7800 Forever website or an Atari 7800 website. But and so John was a little bit more of an expert last night. We talked about there's 3 multi-carts right now that are out, and we don't know if one of them is still being manufactured. There's one called Concerto, something like Concerto, and it's pretty economical, about $80. And but there's some technical limitations. Some older ones, technical limitations with it. The best one is probably the Dragonfly. It's around 150 or 160 or 170, something like that. It's quite a bit of money, but it has, I think it has Yamaha sound. It has a capability of running bigger games, and it's probably the best way to go. The problem with that one, besides the price, is we don't know if that's being made right now. So if you know, put in the comments. And there's one comic coming out called 7800 GD. We don't know why they're using such a strong language, but that one is also going to be around $80. It's not quite as powerful as the Dragonfly, but it's kind of a knowledge gap. Bob Crescenzo, uh, who goes by Pac-Man Plus, who made the bulk of the list that's being pulled, as went to the Atari Age website and released all the ROMs of these games for free. And you can download those at your leisure. You just need to go to the Atari Age website and go look at the Atari 7800 forum. And the Muddy Monster is starting to sell his, I think. He's starting to sell the ROM version of EXO. So the future of these Atari 7800 homebrews and all the homebrews, it's going to be uncertain. I mean, there's a lot of, people could just release them for free or sell them on the forums. Guys could start selling them individually, kind of like, Franco Dragon has a bunch of crazy games, and you just have to contact him. He'll make the game for you and ship it to you. People could be more like that. And so there could be more of like a thrift store type of, where did you get that game? Gambler releases a bunch of games that are, interesting, but they don't come with a box. And sometimes the labels aren't as good with some of these guys. Also, hobby programmers can do a deal with maybe Good Deal Games or Video 61. I don't know, but those are kind of some smaller websites that sell releases that they kind of get a hold of in one way or the other. I don't know. I think maybe we're going to a ROM-heavy universe. The thing that I hope happens is, even though these ports are terrific, and some of them, the Cubert one, Baby Pac-Man, they're tremendous. I still like the homebrews that are original ideas. The Dragons trilogy, the Night Guy stuff, Bentley Bear, Ricky and Vicky, Plum Luck, EXO, the Bernie games, and the list goes on and on. I like these games because I feel like it's playing something new. As good as Cubert is for the 7800, it's still Cubert. I've played it before. Playing EXO is exciting, So maybe this will spark more guys dumping some creativity and talent into their own ideas. I think that may be a lot more fun. Even though there's safe familiarity, Popeye's going to be a good game if you do a good job. My own idea may suck, but it's kind of fun to horse around with that. So I was telling Silverback last night, and again, Silverback, I'm sorry you're excluded on this video, but I was like, Bob was working on a zombie game called Resolve, and it was like a top-down, tight game, and it was like you had to last 30 days, and you woke up and you went to bed. And I was like, if he includes stuff like one day you have to find out you have to rescue somebody, the next day you got to find medicine, the next day you got to find food, 30 days of challenges. And it was this tight Grand Theft Auto kind of look, I was like, man, it would be really cool if he got back into that, and finished it. And so there's that type of thing. So we're hoping it doesn't decimate the industry or decimate the community. That's a better word instead of industry. But, hopefully it changes. There's a Michael Douglas movie where people are coming in and taking their house and taking his furniture and taking all his personal belongings, and they're about to sell his house, and he's just sitting there. And his daughter comes in and goes, "What are you doing? What are you doing? They're taking mom's stuff. They're taking your stuff. They're taking all the stuff. They're taking your house." Just, honey, calm down. Every catastrophe breeds opportunity. And that's a great mantra in life, too. We all fight our own battles, and sometimes we lose, and sometimes, we can rise above. I know this is melodramatic for an Atari 7800 video, but, I can tell. I read the forums. I think the programmers are a little bummed. I don't think anybody's really mad at Albert because he's got to do what he's got to do, but it is sucky. And there were games that were going to be released in a few months that aren't going to be released, like their old 1970s Pinga, well, not Seat Cart, probably, and a couple other things. Cat Trap, too. So, anyway, we talked about some other things. Keeping it with the 7800 for a second, the Atari VCS had a surprise. And if you um, watch my old video, the Atari VCS, the honest review of the Atari VCS, I said at the end of the video, um, one way to save the homebrew system is to, or excuse me, one way to save the Atari VCS is to start releasing non-conflicted homebrews, like something like EXO or Bentley Bear, blah blah blah, and you can do that with the Lynx and the Jaguar and all that stuff, and release it on the VCS and the 2600. Well, I was out of town for over 2 weeks and getting sunburned, beat up, and running into tumbleweeds and attacked on the road and stuff like that. And when I come back, there's a bunch of 2600 games and homebrews that were on the Atari VCS store. And we were excited and I was excited because there's an Atari 7800 homebrew called Failsafe, which Bob DeCrescenzo made years ago. But it's a really good game, and it's an updated version of Countermeasure, and it's on the store. It's freaking on the store, and it's awesome. It was only $4.99. I bought it to support Bob, and God, man, I'm like, man, hopefully this will start. This will start churning, but maybe about once a week they'll release a 7800 homebrew that is unattached. And so congratulations, Bob, and congratulations, Atari. You guys are trying. They've released a VR game called Pixel Ripped, which is not available on the VCS because they don't have VR. They don't have any VR peripheral, but if you go on Xbox or Steam, I guess, or PlayStation, you can play this old Atari game. Where it looks like an old Atari game, but it's a VR game. It looks pretty good. It's got pretty decent reviews. It's getting about 6 and 7s and 8s. So it's got pretty good reviews. They've released something called Mr. Run and Jump. They got something called Intruder that came out. So they're in the store is got some life into it, and they're releasing two brand new recharge games. Haunted House, which is going to be different than the version that Digital Eclipse made for the 50th anniversary collection or celebration. And they're releasing Quantum, which is a simplistic game. So that'll be interesting to see how they recharge that one and make that snazzy. So let's see. There was that. Atari is making a bunch of also. They're acquiring a bunch of properties. They bought Magic. They bought. I think Mattel Industries or the television. Some of the television properties they released. They bought something. They released, I think, Berserk on the VCS. So they're trying to cash in on these. They're buying pretty cool IPs and starting to turn them out. That would be awesome if Atari started buying almost everything old, and then they could be the gatekeepers of the retro universe. That would be pretty cool. I don't know. Me and John talked. We talked for about an hour, and again, John, I'm sorry. I need to send you a check for your time and be on 2 videos that never saw the light of day. But I promise next time we will rock it. And John does a great job. He's really good at this. He was always a little self-conscious. But I was like, dude, you're natural. You got a good voice. You love Atari. That's all you need to do. If you guys like this type of podcast or whatever this is, I'm not even sure if this is a podcast. We're not going to do it regularly. But if you like these types of moment in time things, send me, put in the comments, hey, I appreciate what you do, or you guys suck, do this better, whatever. And I know there's the Canadians up there, the 0 Point homebrew people, and they do a great job. There's too many cats, so I feel like I'm getting hay fever every time I watch that. I get a little snotty nose when I watch that. Oh, I want to tell you this too. I was joking with John about I'm going to try to get a free controller from Ed Ladd, and because we were talking about Attack of the Pesci robots, Joe Pesci, hey, wait a minute, am I playing with you robots? And what was funny is the game is great, and it's been ported a million times. And we were talking about it on the last night. It reminded me of Robot Finds Kitchen. Robot Finds Kitchen was a game that came out around 2004 or 2005. And everybody, for some reason, there was a community that ported this stupid, terrible game to like every system, every computer, DOS, Java, Flash, the Atari 7800, Sega stuff, Nintendo stuff. And it's a game. Read about it on our website, Atari7800forever.com, where you're like a question mark and you're looking for a cat and you go up to different uh, letters like X or an asterisk or whatever. You ask them if they're the cat, and it says something absolutely stupid to you until you find the cat. It was just kind of a hobby programmer uh, thing for people to do to kill time, have fun, making a simple game. But it got ported to everywhere, and you can read the review on the website. And also, we have the top 10 dumbest responses in Robot Finds Kitten. Well, Attack of the Pesci Robots, another robot game, mind you. The 8-bit guy did this, and he let anybody wants to make this game, you can port it to whatever. Now I think there's 22 different versions of this game. And the Atari 7800 game is very good. In fact, it's rated in the top. He rates it in the top 10 of the 22 different versions. It's a very good game, and but it's a computer game, and there's problems with controlling it. You have to use the keypad and joystick, which you got one sitting in your lap, and the keypad cord is very short. You got to be kind of up in the game like this. So that's okay. They have an adapter for Super Nintendo. I don't like how that works. You can use two joysticks. Even Silverback bought a coupler that you use for Robotron. Put it in there and just trying to drive it, but you need the access to the interior buttons, so that didn't work. And then the one joystick option is terrible. So I told John, I said, I'm going to call the guy or email the guy from Ed Ladden, or I don't know how you pronounce it. This guy makes the Seagull controllers. He makes incredibly cool controllers. Message the guy about I'm going to see if he'll let me. He'll make me a twin 7800 joystick so I can play Pesci Robots. I'll play it and send it back to him, or he can give me one, or maybe give me a discount. He's giving me a discount on one that's kind of damaged. But we're going to do a video of me using twin, Super 7800 twin stick that's really kind of made for Robotron and Time Salvo, and use the buttons and see if I can play Attack of the Pesci Robots. If that's we'll see if that's the premium way to play Attack of the Pesci Robots, is that new stick. I can't wait. I forgot about it until I started talking to John last night. Now I got to send the guy the money today because I forgot about it, and I don't want to forget again. But really cool. Can't wait to play it and make that video for you guys. So anyway, I'll shut up now. This is the third effing time I've done this podcast. Hopefully it's done and people will watch the damn thing and you'll get some information. The big thing today, the Atari Last Chance Sale, the Atari Age Last Chance Sale is happening until July 23rd. You get 10% off. And once these games are gone, they're never going to be in the Atari Age store. They will be on eBay for $300 and $400 and $500 and $600. You can bet you bippy that's true. All right. Toot, toot. Ride the funk train. Good night. I'm going back to bed, even though it's like 9 o'clock in the morning. If you have any questions, direct them to the